You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. April is, among other things, Parkinson's Disease Awareness Month, and today we'll learn about the underserved patient population with PD, women, and what's being done about that. And the singing trio Betty will be here, talking politics and, well, singing politics too. Also with us is a woman who has for years worked actively for women's rights in her native China, has paid the price for that, and is now seeing young women rise and demonstrate, risking jail themselves. It's a story of intergenerational courage. And today we also have some news you can use. But first, we need to look inside the headlines. Two items in Inside the Headlines this week. One, a follow-up story to last week when I spoke about the Cairo woman, poet and activist who had been killed earlier in January for simply trying to lay flowers in Tahrir Square in memory of the demonstrations. She had been killed by an absolute volley of birdshot that pierced her body and her lungs and her heart. And the government had claimed now that she was too thin. It was her own fault. Well, now the government has followed up and is charging witnesses who were not demonstrating with demonstrating. The most prominent witness to Sabah's shooting was Azza Soliman, a human rights lawyer, and the woman, she is the head of the Center for Egyptian Women's Legal Assistance. And she was simply having lunch across the street from the march, but she witnessed and has recounted many times what she saw about the shooting. She and a number of other witnesses, people who dared come forward and say what they saw, 17 people in all, have been charged with demonstrating without a permit, even though they weren't demonstrating. But that's a crime that carries a penalty of up to several years in prison under a law passed shortly after the military takeover in 2013. So that's the latest from the Egyptian government, and the United States has now re-upped to supply them with material and munitions. Isn't that a thrill? The other item this week is that young Chinese feminists are on the march and in jail now after having been on the march. A group of them shaved their heads to protest inequality in higher education, and they've performed guerrilla theater acts all across the country. They stormed men's restrooms to focus on the indignities women face in their prolonged waits at public toilets. We're familiar with that here and all over the world. Two of them put on white wedding gowns and splashed them with red paint and marched through one of Beijing's most popular tourist districts, chanting, "Yes to love, no to violence." Now, 5 of them, the core members, are in jail accused of provoking social instability. The detentions took place early in March on the eve of International Women's Day as the women planned a public awareness campaign about sexual harassment on, guess what, public transportation. A number of them now have gone into hiding. One of them, 26-year-old Zhao Meili, she has just recently completed a 1,200-mile trek across China to draw attention to sexual violence. But she says, "We don't understand what we did wrong to warrant such a ferocious backlash, because the government itself claims that it's against domestic violence, that it's for equality, that it is for women's freedom and liberation." So, despite government efforts to squash any reporting of this crackdown, the jailing of the 5 women has leaked. The hashtag is hashtag #FreeThe5, all spelled out, #FreeThe5 on Twitter. Hashtag #FreeThe5. Later in this program, we are going to be hearing from one of their political mothers, a woman who has been at feminism in China for decades. Meanwhile, these young women have prompted a seismic shift in women's activism, and it's already yielding results, including a landmark bill on domestic violence being considered by the national legislature. A squeaky wheel. Before we get to our first guest, I'm going to update you about my own Parkinson's disease, because I know many of you have expressed very kind interest and curiosity. For those of you who don't know or are newer listeners, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's a few years ago, and I devoted an entire show about it in 2013 to Parkinson's disease, its effect on women. You know, when you're a social justice activist, you kind of pick up the skills that you have on automatic pilot and plunk them down to face a new challenge, particularly when you learn that women have not been factored into the research and into treatment as importantly and as frequently as should be the case for half the population. Anyway, if you go to WMClive.com or iTunes and you check out episode 33 of this program, it was in 2013 in April, episode 33, you will have the entire exposition of the diagnosis and how it affected me and what I'm doing about it and stuff like that. So we don't have to go over all that again. That's very convenient. But in the update about it, life is good. It's progressing very slowly, and the new meds work wonderfully. There is as yet no cure, but there's a whole lot of wonderful new meds that address symptoms that are coming through the pipeline. And I'm feeling more fit. In fact, I'm probably more disgustingly healthy than at any other time in my life, because I'm exercising frequently, and I'm eating right, and I'm going to physical therapy, and I'm doing all of these things, and which almost leaves little time for the reason you're supposed to be doing them in the first place, which is life and writing and politics. But never mind. I'm very grateful that I'm still functioning on, I would say, 5 cylinders, but some people might say 6 and 7. I'm still grateful. And that brings us to the fact that every April I do something on this program about Parkinson's disease, because it hits very close to home. My mother, in fact, had it. So today's guest is a very special woman, Veronica Todaro, although everybody calls her Ronnie Todaro, has led the national programs of the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, PDF, since 2004. She's the vice president in charge of national programs. And she is the one who created the Parkinson's Advocates in Research program, about which we'll talk, but I won't spend time and space on it now because we will be addressing it. She's an expert on the issue of people themselves, of people who have diseases, of patients as participants, not passive recipients, of patients, in fact, as consumers of medical care. And she has created a number of edifices that address precisely that. So when I encountered her, I just loved her on the spot, and I was not surprised to find, which made me love her even more, that she comes out of the women's movement. Prior to working with Parkinson's Disease Foundation, she held several leadership positions in the public health field, including with Planned Parenthood. So here is Ronnie Todaro. Ronnie, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Robin. It's a pleasure to be here.
To me, you are the good woman involved with PDF, Parkinson's Disease Foundation. Not to say there aren't others, but you're especially close to my heart because you're one of ours, because you come from the women's movement, because you were with Planned Parenthood for so many years. So when I met you, I felt I was re-meeting a sister, and so glad to find you in the Parkinson's community. Tell people, for openers, briefly, new listeners have joined us since last year, fortunately, many of them. Tell them just briefly what Parkinson's Disease Foundation does and how it differs from other foundations on the issue of PD.
Sure. Thanks, Robin. So the Parkinson's Disease Foundation focuses on funding scientific research as well as supporting people living with PD through educational programs and services. We've been around since about, I think, 1957, and to date we've funded about $105 million for research, and then also close to about $45 million to support national education and advocacy programs. But what I think for me is most exciting about the Parkinson's Disease Foundation is that the organization really gets the intersection between the research that we fund and the education and awareness that we foster. And, we look at this sweet spot and intersection as relating to working on empowerment and creating agency among people that are living with Parkinson's. And by people living with Parkinson's, I mean both those who have the disease as well as care partners and families.
Well, that's what appealed to me, of course, about PDF and why I've been working with you all, rather than the other fine foundations, including the Fox Foundation, which everybody knows of course, because of Mike Fox. But you were in my tradition of activism. And empowering patients. One of the things that I discovered, of course, early on, to my surprise, was that just as in so many other areas of health, women were a minor presence. They were considered not necessary to include in research, because you remember back when even the NIH used to think women were really just small men. Now, of course, we're at an age of gender-specific medicine and learning more and more about crucial differences that are important to men as well as to women. So I'd love you to really talk about that, and maybe first talk about, since April is Parkinson's Disease Consciousness Awareness Month, what special plans the foundation has.
Sure, thanks, Robin. I'll talk a little bit about the special plans, and then talk some about the Women in Parkinson's initiative. So first, for Parkinson's Awareness Month, as I mentioned earlier, it's part of PDF's DNA to really look at how people living with Parkinson's can drive research as well as addressing their other needs and priorities. And so we have launched, this is the second time that we've done this, something referred to as the Community Choice Research Awards. And what we are doing is putting a call out to all people who are living with Parkinson's to have them let us know what their research priorities are. And last time that we had done this in 2013, we received over 300 responses of individuals who identified under-researched Parkinson's priorities that relate to symptoms, day-to-day management, and treatment of the disease. And within that, then, we select two priorities that, as identified by people living with PD. And in 2013, we identified fatigue and gastrointestinal dysfunction. Then we bring together scientific experts, clinicians, both within the field of PD and outside of PD, as well as people with Parkinson's, bring them to the table to have a convening around what the core issues are in relation to these under-researched needs, to really move research forward. And so again, in this April, we're making a call out to the community to tell us what they think the priorities are. And we'll once again convene meetings based on what we hear from the individuals that we think are the true experts with PD, and those are the folks that are living with it day to day. For those who would be interested in voting and letting us know what you think, the website, the Parkinson's Disease Foundation website, is www.pdf.org.
Very simple to remember. And this is another endeavor that is another one that goes back to the reason I love you folks, because it gives voice to the patient, and the patient becomes not a participatory observer, but a participant in the research. So this is huge. A participant in determining the direction of the research, even more important. Okay, women.
So women. So again, Robin, you've been instrumental to raising our awareness within the Parkinson's Disease Foundation about the importance of of looking at the unmet needs of women with Parkinson's. And, again, as you had mentioned, this is where our sisterhood gets combined again, which is wonderful. And I think that by having you engaged, it's created a synergy around this for me personally as well as within the foundation. And so we, as you mentioned, we've really recognized that there is not a national coordinated effort to identify and as well as address the needs of women living with Parkinson's, both as it pertains to research, clinical care, and support services. For example, we know that women with PD experience a longer duration of time between onset when they have symptoms of the disease and when they see a movement disorder specialist. We know that women are less likely to be seen by a neurologist. We also know that women have experienced the disease differently. For example, women with Parkinson's may be more prone to depression, but at the same time, they may show less cognitive impairment. And so there are a number of unmet medical needs, research needs, and care needs. And the way that our first step in addressing this is convening a group of women from around the country who are, identified as leaders within their communities to really look at looking at the needs within the community and helping us figure out, like a roadmap to addressing them, but at the same time providing them with skills and empowerment to move forward within their own communities to educate others about the issues.
The underaddressed part of the community that's female.
Well, exactly. Because I really feel that our role at the Parkinson's Disease Foundation is really to, we're a smaller foundation and do not have the reach or resources of others. But what we feel that we do really well is to convene and, kind of tee up the ball, as they say, and get things moving and, shine the light on some key issues that need to be addressed. You
do that wonderfully, as a matter of fact, just superbly. And you did a survey, didn't you, online of women? Tell about that.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Robin. We did. I mean, we before we got to the place where we decided to convene this meeting is, we did some research on our own, and one way that we did that is to poll our members in January of 2015, just the beginning of this year, and we found that 72% of women living with PDs were saying that their issues weren't being addressed. And then we also found that 91% had never received any type of information or resources that were specific to the needs that they had. And then, again, one of the reasons we're moving forward with this conference is we said that almost 90% of women said they would participate, that they're hungry for this information. And something else that I would like to mention as well is that we have an excellent national helpline, and in talking to the skilled staff who runs the helpline about this recently, they were saying that they get a number of calls from women who will contact their neurologists or other medical professionals and really do feel that they're not being heard. And they contact our helpline to say, we found that our role has been in empowering them to try again.
Yeah.
And again, as you know, Robin, these are issues that you see not just solely within Parkinson's, but across the board.
You
as
bet.
It pertains to, gender differences in terms of being heard, communicating with your provider.
Yep.
And so, I think that's extremely, extremely telling. And I did want to mention, also our helpline number, if in the event that there are listeners who have PD and who have felt that they've been in this situation. And, that number is 800-457-6676.
Better repeat it.
It's 800-457-6676.
And the website is www.pdf.org. You are just terrific, and I'm so grateful to be able to be working with you. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing and for being with us today on Women's Media Center Live.
Look forward to what comes out of our meeting that we're organizing in September for the women's community as it relates to PD.
And we'll keep the listeners of Women's Media Center Live posted.
Great. Thank you.
We have to take a quick break now at Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. And do you know what the Betty effect is? Betty, yes, Betty. Well, stick around and find out. We'll be back in just a minute.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome back. Betty is the name of a pop music trio who have a passion for music and for human rights, in particular, female human rights. Allison Palmer and two sisters, Elizabeth Ziff and Amy Ziff, are songwriter, singer, musicians. They've been touring and playing together, wait for it, for 30 years. And they performed over 500 concerts to raise money for the women's movement. I mean, they're something else. They're really special. And they are the composers of the theme song for the groundbreaking hit TV series, The L Word. They also wrote the girl power anthem, It Girl. And now they're doing something called the Betty Effect. And here are the three of them to sing and talk and tell us about the Betty Effect. Allison, Elizabeth, and Amy. Betty. So, Allison, Amy, and Elizabeth, two Ziffs and a Palmer.
Correct.
Allison Palmer, Elizabeth Ziff, and Amy Ziff are Betty, and have been Betty, harmony singing, songwriter, musicians, and feminists, and wonderful agitators using music and art to change consciousness for about almost 30 years. My God.
Yep.
And of SoCon pop, social consciousness pop. How have you, in this changeable world, have you guys stayed together so long? This is amazing.
It is kind of amazing.
That's a miracle, Robin.
It's a miracle. That's what we've thought. Yeah. And I think that because we've always been, this is Allison speaking, and because we've always been more than just a band, we've always believed in so much more than just bringing music to entertain people. I think that's what drives us and connects us and keeps us rolling. We've always believed that we want to leave the world a better place than we found it.
Yeah, well, you have. You have, and you do.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we hope so. In our small little way, we our first show that we ever did, actually, we sang a song at a Take Back the Night March in Washington D.C., where we all got together many thousands of years ago. And our music has never been really that political. I mean, it's getting more so this way, but we have always been very politicized in who we play for and perform for over the years. Done so much stuff for pro-choice, and we just always believed in standing up for what we believe, and it's I think that's one of the things that has kept us together for the song is our ideology. Because God, do we fight? Oh my God.
Well, but it's a far cry from a Take Back the Night March to writing the theme song for the L Word.
Is it though? Yeah. Is it really, Robin? I don't know.
It is. You are a fixture now in the women's movement, and I mean that in the best possible sense.
Thank you.
It's just unthinkable to have a major event, a march or something without Betty. How did the one name come to depict all three of you?
Ooh, good question.
Amy? We thought.
Amy?
Oh, hi. We thought that Betty, being the all-American, prototype as a name, really aptly fit us. Don't you think so too, Robin?
You are the most wonderfully motley-looking crew of oddballs and American girls that I can imagine. Thank the goddess.
And that's what makes us uniquely American, I think.
Well,
that's why the name Betty is so apt.
Well, tell us about the Betty Effect, because this is a yet new development or giving a name to what you've been doing all along.
Well, the Betty Effect, this is Allison again, the Betty Effect is an organization that we've created that uses music and art to empower women and girls and people striving for social justice by promoting self-advocacy, health, and community connection worldwide. It's basically what Betty's been doing for almost the last 30 years, but we've sort of codified it now. We've made it a lot more effective, we think, by giving it a name, hence the name, the Betty Effect.
Give an example of...
It's a nonprofit organization, and it came from the fact that we have been working in some of our some of the things that we've been doing in the last 3 or 4 years, we've been working together with the U.S. State Department as cultural arts envoys, and we've been doing stuff in Argentina and in India and in the Baltic states, Mexico, and also in America. We've been doing workshops and also concerts at different universities and different places to promote social justice, to work with women and girls, and to work with the LGBTQI community
Really,
throughout the world. So,
giving voice to people that have no voice, and giving voice for change, to change. That's what the whole premise is about.
What's not?
And we wanted to be more. We wanted to have a more of an impact, Miss Elizabeth, and so we wanted to create our own organization. Actually, Catherine Harnett, who is our acting board chair, is the person who put the kernel into our head of the idea of that we should start our own organization, so we could have a more lasting impact and be able to go back to these places and keep in communication with people that we worked with. And that was really appealing to us, because we never thought we would do something like that. We're just three schmoes and a tuba in a band. And then we got together with the board, and Gloria Steiner's on the board, and there's an advisory board member, and we have this really great board together, and people who believe in what we're doing. And that's always been sort of the way of Betty. We just sort of fall into these things that make sense.
Well, let's hear some of the sense. We have a clip. We have the song Rise. Tell us a little bit about this song before we hear it.
Amy?
Basically, we have been feminists. Betty's been feminists even before the band got together. And one thing that we noticed in the world was we can fight for women and with women as much as we want to, but unless we engage everyone, we can never cause substantial change. So the song Rise is a call not just to women and for women, but for everybody to rise up for the rights of all people. Until we can do that, we cannot have change. That's basically how the song came about.
Okay, let's hear Rise.
Up, get up, dance up, get up, sing up, get up, change everything. Up, get up, dance up, get up, sing up, get up, change everything. Silence must stop, violence must end, broken body and spirit will rise again. Strength in numbers, take a stand. Right the wrongs, don't ask, demand. If one woman hurts, if one woman cries, if one man bleeds, rise, rise. Up, get up, dance up, get up, sing up, get up, change everything. Up, get up, dance up, get up, sing up, get up, change everything. Brothers, sisters, women, girls, time is now to change the world. No story forgotten, no soul erased, no promise left empty, we're taking our place. If one woman hurts, if one woman cries, if one man bleeds, rise, rise.
Fantastic. Makes me want to stand and clap hands. So
Thank you.
You in fact, people can hear you live, at least if they're in the New York area, coming up very soon. Yes.
Yes, we're going to be at Joe's Pub on April 18th at 7 p.m. And it's part 2 of our anniversary concert. The last one we did sold out in a heartbeat. Of course it did.
Say again. Say again the date and place, and also give the website.
Okay, it's at Joe's Pub, and
that's in New York City.
New York City, on Lafayette Street,
Date?
at the Public Theater. And the date is April 18th. It's Saturday at 7 p.m. Betty in concert.
And people can always just go to our website, which is hellobetty.com, like Hello Kitty. Hellobetty.com. All of our information is there about not only just about our fantastic anniversary show coming up next Saturday on the 18th of April, but also our tours and the work that we're doing as Betty and as the Betty Effect around the world.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you. Thank you for your music and your irrepressible spirits. And thank you for being with us today on Women's Media Center Live.
Thank you, Robin.
Robin,
if it weren't for you,
Robin,
if it weren't for you, Robin, and the women like you, we wouldn't be here. So thank you for all you do.
And now we need some news you can use. April 14th is Equal Pay Day. Ah ha 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 ha. Mellifluous laughter from you and from me. But I thought I would share some arguing points that you could brandish in discussions with people as that approaches. The largest share, 13.5% to 17.17% of women making less than $25,000 reside in the Southeast region in such states as Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. That's the largest share of women making less than $25,000 a year. The largest share of men making below $25,000 resides in border states and in areas with close proximity to water, like Southern California and Texas, Southern Texas, so that's farm workers. Although there are women farm workers certainly as well. The Northeast region has the largest disparity between men and women making under $25,000 in certain areas of the Northeast. These figures and the visualization of them, which is fascinating, I'm looking at it right now, are from a group called RIZA Ratio. That's www.rhiza.com, RIZA Ratio. They're an online platform that makes accessible big data for media companies. So I thought I would share that so you can have some talking points to argue with in your own area. And then, as well, we have a really good piece of research coming out about the Latina community. On April 21st, the No Más, No More study on domestic violence and sexual assault in the United States Latin community will be revealed. This study has a lot of corporate sponsors, which always makes me a little bit nervous, but some of them are movement sponsors, and that makes me more assured and reassured. The Avon Foundation for Women is behind this study, as is Casa de Esperanza and the National Latina Network, and the study was sponsored by Verizon. So there's a whole mix of strange bedfellows there, but you can get more information about the study itself at info@lakeresearch.com. Lake like the body of water, LAKERESEARCH, lakeresearch.com. Info@lakeresearch.com. They are the folks who actually did the serious study, and on April 21st, on Capitol Hill, there will be a briefing together, so with the government backing this, because it's the first findings of an in-depth, groundbreaking study and a new, we hope, national public awareness and engagement initiative addressing domestic violence and sexual assault, both in the Latina community. It's time for another break. I'm Robin Morgan. This is Women's Media Center Live. You may have read about the Chinese feminists who have been imprisoned for demonstrating. And when we return, we will be speaking with a Chinese feminist who is very tired of holding up half the sky for unequal pay and sexual harassment in return. Don't go away.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
And we're back again. The new generation of young Chinese feminist activists that we mentioned earlier are, in a sense, the offspring of our next guest and women like her. Wu Jing, in Western transliteration, it's spelled Wuqing. Wu Jing is a well-known academic and activist. She teaches at the Beijing Foreign Studies University and is co-founder of the Beijing Cultural Development Center for Rural Women. But most importantly, since the mid-1980s, and even a bit earlier, she's been an active and open leader for women's rights and human rights in China, and she has paid the price for that. Here is Wu Jing. Wu Jing, welcome to Women's Media Center Live. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to say special hello to all my sisters and global citizens.
Yes, if you could hear them, they would all be saying hello back. You are a towering figure in the global women's movement, and it was a delight and an honor to meet you. And you're, of course, a well-known professor in China teaching English courses and American studies at Beijing Foreign Studies University, and you're the co-founder of the Beijing Cultural Development Center for Rural Women. But mostly and courageously, you have been, since the mid-'80s, an active leader for women's rights and human rights in China, in particular focusing on rural women, but on women in general. Tell us about the status of rural women in China. I know that's a crazy question because it's such a huge subject, but give us at least a little taste of what that reality is.
Okay. Actually, my first trip to rural China was in 1990 when I was Canadian International Development Agency's gender specialist.
I see.
I was appalled when I saw the living conditions of my sisters as well as my brothers in the rural areas.
Yes.
In those harsh conditions, the drinking water wasn't that safe and the house was not in good condition and the kids ran along without shoes. But I found my sisters were so courageous facing the difficulties. So in a way, I felt that I was encouraged by them. And that's why, I made up my mind that if I want to change China, I have to change the rural areas where the majority of the population is. And if I want to change the rural areas, I have to change women. Mm-hmm. If we teach one woman, we teach whole family and generations to come, because mothers are so important. They are the first teachers to their kids. Mm-hmm. Because my mom, when I was a little girl, told me that I'm a human being before I'm a girl. Mm. So in a way, that has given me the confidence and courage to face the issues faced by women.
Mm. You're a co-founder of the Chongqing Practical Skills Training Center for Rural Women, and the mission of the school is to empower women and girls, and it has changed the lives. This is fantastic. The lives of over 13,000 women and girls from rural areas.
Yes, actually, up until now, we have changed over 17,000 women.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And the results have been wonderful because these women, once they are empowered and once they know that they are a citizen, they try to change themselves and the people around them.
Yeah, I have found all over the world that the women in the villages, the women in the refugee camps, very often the non-literate women, tend to come to their consciousness about their own needs and their own rights and their own feminism, in a sense, faster, despite the stereotype, faster than women in the cities do.
Yes, very often.
When you say that 17,000 of these lives have been changed, give us some examples. Changed in what way?
Okay, I'll give you one example of a girl. She is now some 23 because we have a project for girls between 16 to 20. Mm-hmm. And then when she first came to the school, she got enrolled in hairdressing class. Mm-hmm. It only took about 20 days to learn all the basic skills because our school is non-profit and non-degree. So when she went back in Gansu, she started her own hairdresser. And then I think after a little over 1 year, she met a young man. They fell in love. They got married and they had a child. After having a child, then she was not able to work. So she stayed at home for 2 years. Mm-hmm. When her child was old enough to go to the daycare center, she started to get involved in an accountant training program. So now she's an accountant because we also tell women live and learn is important. We only offer the skill when she was there, but then you need all kinds of skills that are marketable to be able to survive in this society.
Of course. Tell me, you have been honored all over the world. You have not been comparably honored for this human rights work in your home country. This is a case where a prophet is not honored in her own hometown. Has it been difficult for you?
Well, I would say I have been honored by my constituents because I became a politician in 1984 up until 2011. Because I had been outspoken and because I want to do oversight, I was kicked out. And yet, I feel that I've never been working for awards. I just want to, I just want to do something. Play my role as a global citizen to serve people throughout the world. Because I visited Rwanda in 1998. Yes. I saw my sisters there. What happened to them during the genocide?
Yes.
I wanted to serve those sisters. And I've been trying very hard to be a global citizen, to learn and to act. And that's why I've been telling people that I'm a verb. I'm not a noun or adjective or adverb. I take action.
That's wonderful. I will borrow that. I will credit you, but I will yes, we must all become verbs. Definitely right. Definitely not adjectives and not even nouns, but verbs. Something that is in action. Absolutely. And what are your plans now for the future?
I will go on doing empowerment for both women and men because gender is about men and women. It's always very important to combine education with human rights.
Yes, of course.
And to me, I think we need another kind of education, a new kind of education. Education is not just to open doors to careers. That's not enough. We should open the eyes, the minds, and the hearts of our students and to encourage them to be global citizens. They have to learn to respect diversity.
China has such an enormous, long history, such a massive history and past and roots and literature and culture, and such diversity, in fact, within it, that and it is simply so large that I've always thought, well, it's 1/4 of the world's humanity, and which means that Chinese women are 1/8 of all women. And so when China changes, then that's the big one. Then everything else will follow in its wake. So the work you're doing is, as they say, the tip of the spear. It's extremely important, and I can't thank you enough from my own heart and from the hearts of women everywhere for the work you're doing for all of us.
You know what? Actually, I feel we get support from sisters throughout the world because in solidarity there is strength.
Thank you, Sheshe. Thank you so much for all that you do and for being with us on the program today. Thank you from my heart.
Thank you. I think it's an honor to know you, Robin, because you have done so much.
Time for a last quick break here on Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan, and I will have some fighting words in just a second when we return.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
And welcome back again. In time for some fighting words. In late February, there was a piece in the New York Times that really has haunted me. It was written by Jody Rudoran, and its headline was, "A Gaza artist creates 100 square feet of beauty, and she's not budging." Its dateline and location was February 27th, and it was in Deir al-Balah, in the Gaza Strip, where I have been, as many of you know. The artist's name is Nida Badwan, and she is in a room less than 100 square feet, and it has a single window and a bare light bulb. And she has been so alienated by Gaza, not only its constant conflict with the Israeli occupying authority, but also with the extreme religious horror that is Hamas and its fundamentalism, that Ms. Badwan, who is age 27, has hardly left the room for over a year. And inside the room, she has created her own world, a striking set of self-portraits that are both classical in style and cutting edge. She's got a medium-sized mirror, and many of them are self-portraits. She has an antique sewing machine and iron. She has 2 easels and a yellow ladder and a gas canister on which she boils water. And that's what's in the room. She says in the article, "I wait for the light. Everything is beautiful, but only in my room, not in Gaza. I'm ready to die in this room unless I find a better place. There is now no other life for me." The project made new windows. The project was called 100 Days of Solitude. She did that as an homage to Gabriel Garcia Marquez's great novel. Although her isolation has been much longer. She did 14 self-portraits, all about 40 by 22 inches long, and they have now been displayed at an East Jerusalem art gallery, and whose director, Alia Rayan, said that they evoked Dutch masters of the 16th and 17th centuries in their use of light. She was born, Badwan was born in the United Arab Emirates to Palestinian parents. She started painting at age 6, and she moved to this town in the central Gaza Strip when she was in 6th grade. She studied interior design at Al-Aqsa University in Gaza City, and she spent a year in Amman in Jordan working on film and video. And in 2012, she was among 40 artists in a show. This was after the war between Hamas, the Islamist faction that dominates Gaza, and Israel. She was part of 40 artists in a show called This Is Also Gaza that showed at the bombed-out Red Crescent Cultural Center. and hers were photographs of a woman's head covered by a black plastic bag. This started in 2013 when one November day she says that she was harassed by Hamas officers while she was helping with a youth arts program. They interrogated her why she was standing with men, why she was talking with men. They chastised her for wearing jeans overalls, and they made her sign a paper promising not to go outside without loosely fitting traditional Islamic garb, in other words, walking around like a movable bolt of cloth. She says, I told them I'm an artist. They said, what does that mean? I said, I make films and videos. They said, we don't know what you're talking about, and what do you wear? Why do you look so different? They hit me, she says. The next day, she retreated to her room, and for 2 months she contemplated suicide. She tried to sip soup that her sister brought. She popped anxiety pills. She slept on the floor. She cried. But eventually she started to love isolation, she says. It's not a disease. She picked up her camera and she started following the light in the room. She says isolation has healed me. And after she uploaded some photographs to the website 500px.com, she was elated by responses from Japan, from Paris, from New York. And as part of her isolation, she has now excised all but a few Gazans from her Facebook account, because alone in her room but connected to the internet, she says she can forget where she is. She says, I used to knock on many doors in Gaza to enter the world I wanted to live in, but there's no door. So I paint. There are no galleries here to show what I paint. I love cinema. There's no cinema in Gaza. A woman and an artist at the same time. This is a catastrophe. But nonetheless, she adds, everything that is not art, I try to transform into art. What an extraordinary human being. Nida, Nidaa Badwan. And I couldn't help but think of the Hamlet line, I could be bounded in a nutshell and count myself a king of infinite space, and with a slight tweaking, she fits it perfectly. Nida Badwan, she is bounded in a nutshell, and she is a queen of infinite space. And that's it for today. Join us next week when we'll celebrate the fact that April is not only Parkinson's Awareness Month, but Poetry Month, too. And although I tend to think that these dedicated months are a bit silly, I do grant that they're a useful excuse to focus attention on subjects that usually garner far too little. Unlike, say, the Kardashians. Anyway, we'll talk with poets and read poetry and have some smart fun. This program is syndicated, but if you can't find the broadcast on a radio station in your area, you can always visit us at WMClive.com. There you can find the show, plus the archive of all our previous episodes, and at iTunes worldwide you can also find the show and stream and download it and subscribe to the show's podcast. Be sure to find WMC Live on Facebook and Twitter. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. WMC President and Executive Producer of this program, Julie Burton, Senior Producer, Crystal Williams Chancellor, and our founding sponsor, Regina K. Scully. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us, and here is this week's last word. 100,000 sharks were spotted massing just about 100 yards off Florida's white sand beaches. A pilot, who himself was a fisherman, was flying overhead and saw these tens of thousands of sharks, believed to be spinners. They're called spinners because they're named for the rotating leaps they make while they're on the trail of prey. And they were spotted heading north, swimming parallel to the east coast of Florida's beaches between Fort Lauderdale and some islands. It's usual, apparently, for this time of year that sharks migrate and head for warmer waters, typically swimming close to the shore while chasing after bait fish. But this many is unheard of. So I think the sharks are trying to tell us something, perhaps about the climate of the water. Anyway, despite Sharknado, do remember to join us here next week, right here on Women's Media Center Live.
For the smartest talk about news, politics, sex, books, religion, race, and more, tune your radio to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Audacious, witty, provocative, informative, and fun. It's Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan on WMCLive.com. Talk radio with a brain.